Imagine you're an ancient pharaoh. You've got gold, pyramids, armies, and yet your flex of choice? A potted plant. Yes. Before succulents lined the windows of Instagram-worthy lofts, one plant was sitting pretty in the palaces of Egypt. And no, it wasn't a monstera. This is the story of the first houseplant ever recorded in human history, and the surprising reason it ended up indoors. Let's cut to the chase here. You might assume the first indoor plant was something your parents had back in the day, like a peace lily. You know, the ones that have a full-on existential crisis every time you forget to water it for 24 hours? But no, we're going way further back, like 4 to 5,000 years ago. So, what was the true OG houseplant? Most scholars agree it was likely the Ficus sycomorus, also known as the sycamore fig, revered in ancient Egypt. This tree wasn't just plopped in a corner for aesthetics. It was considered sacred, associated with the goddess Hathor, who was basically the Beyoncé of the Egyptian pantheon, goddess of love, music, beauty, and joy. And yes, the sycamore fig was brought indoors, grown in courtyards, temples, and even burial chambers, like the original feng shui, but with more gods and fewer throw pillows. Now you might be thinking, weren't these people building pyramids? Why were they worried about houseplants? Good question. First, religion. The sycamore fig was believed to be a gateway to the afterlife. It literally appears in the Book of the Dead, shading the spirits of the righteous. Second, status. If you could keep a tree alive in your home, you were ballin'. Water wasn't exactly abundant, and hauling a fig tree inside meant you had servants, space, and enough clout to say, yeah, I grow trees indoors. What of it? So yes, having a houseplant was a flex, not unlike owning a pure white couch with a toddler today. Besides the sycamore fig, other early indoor plants included papyrus, used for writing scrolls, lotus plants, often in indoor ponds or bowls, and date palms, grown in enclosed courtyards. They weren't on shelves or in ceramic pots. They were in sunken planters or stone basins, built directly into palace architecture. Think less IKEA chic, more God-tier desert landscaping. The Egyptians even developed early forms of container gardening. Terracotta pots with drainage holes? Old news. Ancient Egyptians had reed baskets lined with clay, sometimes even using limestone containers carved to fit specific plants. From Egypt, the love of indoor greenery spread to ancient Mesopotamia, Greece, and Rome. The Greeks brought in myrtle and bay trees, symbols of status and intellect. The Romans? They took it up a notch. Wealthy Romans had interior courtyards called atriums, often filled with potted citrus trees and herbs. If you've ever kept a basil plant on your windowsill and felt fancy, congrats, you're reenacting the Roman Empire. And then came the Chinese, who, by the 4th century, were growing miniature landscapes in pots. This was the birth of penjing, the great-grandparent of bonsai. So why does any of this matter? Because houseplants aren't just decor. They've always been about more spirituality, power, control over nature, a need to bring life into enclosed spaces. It's comforting to think that even 4,000 years ago, someone looked at a chaotic world and said, I'm going to put a fig tree in my courtyard and pretend I've got this under control. So the next time you water your fiddle leaf fig and whisper sweet nothings to it, just remember, you're part of a tradition older than written language. If that's not enough reason to subscribe to Houseplant History, I don't know what is. Also, comment below, what's the oldest plant you own? You never know what ancient history it might have.